Okay, my name is Joyce Ramage. I was in the Retiro from 1999 until 2003. And listening to what I just heard and a lot of other people speaking, what came to me was that I'm going to back up a little bit about how I happened to get to the Retiro. And it's interesting because even before I entered the Allegheny Franciscans, I know there was a great desire in me to live contemplatively. And one of our sisters, who was a good friend of mine at the time, I entered in 1987. This was probably 85 or something. And I was talking to her about it. And she said, Joyce, maybe you are actually meant to go to the Port Clares. And this is one of our Allegheny Franciscan sisters trying to send me to the Port Clares. But I said, I don't think so, because I really felt called to Allegheny Franciscans. And I didn't really know that much at that point, other than that I loved being with Allegheny Franciscans. So anyway, so I went ahead, I entered. From the time that I came, it was still always such an important part of my life to that contemplative, that silent, deep prayer time. So through times of formation, some people would tell you that being in a novitiate is a terrible experience. It was an experience that I looked forward to because I knew what it was going to be, and I knew that it was an opportunity to live a life more in prayer and have that time. And so I really looked forward to the novitiate, and it was a wonderful experience in which I was able to deepen that relationship with God and develop that side of me. But anyway, I remember loving to come to the Retiro because at that time, Carol was novice director for us, and we were very connected to the Retiro sisters, and I loved to be in the Retiro and be with the Retiro. It was like I just felt I liked to be there. But of course I wasn't asking to go there at that time. So what happened was, working up to 1999, in 1996 was the year of my final profession. And I went on a 30-day retreat to prepare for that. And during that time, and especially toward the end of my retreat, I really felt called to go to the Retiro. So I shared that with my spiritual director, and she said, well, maybe you are, but this is not the time to make that decision. But we continue to pray about that and walk with that. So we did, and that stayed within me. And I remember writing to Anne and others in the Retiro and saying, it's really what I want. It's really what I want. So I was so happy when the time came that we had a discernment together, the Retiro sisters, myself. Carol at that time was looking at coming back. Jeanette was there. And Sister Margaret Mary said, yes, I could come to the Retiro. So a lot of things about the Retiro. It was the silent prayer. It was the earthiness for me. I'm an earthy person. As you can see what happened to me after that. But I'd be out there in that backyard with Beth, being a farmer, I tried to raise corn, didn't do too well. But anyway, just silence near the earth, near all of nature has always been so important for me. So for me, it all ties together. Being in the silence, whether I'm inside the Retiro or whether I'm outside in the garden or wherever I am, that contemplative piece is so, so important to all of us in our lives, that we have our active lives. I went out from the Retiro in 2003, and at that time became Director of Associates, and from there I went to Canonical Farm, and they were all good experiences, but the importance of that time in silence and in time just to be with God in the quiet has never, ever gone away. And now that I retired, when I retired from Canonical Farm, the first thing I could think that I wanted to do was to go someplace where I could just be in the quiet for a period of time. So I took that time and didn't know what was going to happen next, but I had like a month in which I could just go and be. This time it was in Florida near the water, which was beautiful. And I still really felt that call, but not necessarily to return to the material, but to live more deeply that side of myself again. So the next thing I know, I was asked to go where I am now, which is not necessarily the main thrust of living there, but for me it was. Because when I prayed and discerned about moving to where I am now in Snyder, what I experienced there in the house was that availability and possibility of living that way, of living deeply in God. And out of that, my call in ministry is to be a presence wherever I am, to be a presence and to bring that presence of God that I experience to others.